That's just odd that you can Google that and pull that up. Oh, and by the
Right.
way, we are live. So BSing with the guys. We are at it again.
Yeah,
Doing
because
our YouTube
apparently
weekly.
we are on YouTube weekly.
Yes. Apparently
That's
what?
us.
What were you saying?
Uh, I've just been seeing a lot on TikTok, people saying don't go to Indeed job interviews because kidnappings and shit. But I didn't know if it was real, so I Googled it, and that's what popped up.
Well, man, that's crazy.
But I want to start it off here. Brad, you vape, right? Going to buy vapes an easy,
I do.
simple task. Yeah.
Yep.
So, buddy at the vape shop in Chalmette, count your fuck.
Uh-oh.
So, I go in. I'm like, hey, do you have any of the Raz with the screen? Da da da. He was like, oh, we have the new ones, 35,000 puffs or whatever. Da da da. So I bought it. Right.
Plenty.
I get back to the car. This motherfucker. This is what he sells me.
Is that a purse?
It's
vape?
a fucking Barbie pink purse vape.
So you got a Barbie pink purse vape. Well,
Son of a bitch didn't warn me one time.
What were you supposed to get?
Not a Barbie pink
But
fluffy
I'm saying
purse
you don't
vape.
see it. I don't vape, so I don't know. But you don't see what you're buying? How's that work?
Well, yeah, but it's just like a picture on the package, and it didn't have the purse chain or the fluffy
Must've
shit.
been like promotional, huh?
What the fuck?
Leftover
I'd,
Christmas.
I was like-
I'd rock it. Fuck it.
Could have warned me, or no. He's like,
One
yeah,
thing
buddy
nobody
wants
will
the
take
purse
it,
one.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody
nobody's
will
gonna
steal
steal
it
it.
from you.
Nobody's
No.
gonna steal your pink vape
now I gotta
purse,
walk
whatever
around
the
like
fuck
this.
that is. Sweet. That's
So,
pretty
we
good.
welcome you.
Motherfuckers.
Brad, did you
Yeah.
see you seen your boy Bill Maher? His little about face with
I heard a little
you
bit
know,
about
Trump. Yeah.
Well, I heard he went to dinner, right?
Yeah, they went to
Him, Kid
dinner.
Rock, and and why? Something
Yeah.
happened with that?
No, it was just hearing him, on his show. I guess after the dinner, basically how, I mean, praising Trump, which is different than what you ever hear out of Bill Maher, because for some reason he just cannot fucking stand him or couldn't.
Right. And getting into that, so Bill Maher, I've obviously seen him, just pictures and whatnot, but I've never
Right.
seen his shit, right? So I assume he was not infatuated with Trump at all.
No,
prior
he's,
to this?
super liberal. Yeah, he was not a Trump fan, Republican fan, just super liberal, but he's old school liberal.
Mhm.
Old school to where they just, they
Blue
believe
blood
in like,
Democrat.
old school Democrat. They are progressive, but he started seeing how far left everything was going. So he's been changing his tune a little bit lately, calling out the left. And of course he gets blasted for it by the left because you can't challenge anything they say.
Mhm.
But he still hated Trump no matter what. He wasn't ever going to sit there and build up Trump. He would just admit that the left is going too far now, which if you followed Bill Maher at all, which obviously you haven't, you're probably a little too young, but
Mhm.
I mean, he's always been hardcore Democrat, always been a liberal. He's a comedian by trade, but he's big into politics. And, to watch him basically come out and he's like, look, telling the audience, man, I went to dinner with him. He was fucking great. He's funny. He was nice. You know what I mean? Not anything like Bill Maher had imagined. And of course, that's not what half of his audience wants to hear.
Right.
But it's like he was saying, I'm just going to tell you the truth about it, what happened, and that's it. It's that simple. I mean, you can like it or not, but he was not this evil guy that, I've been painting him as, because he basically explained it like, why sit here and throw insults from a couple thousand miles away at each other all the time? Let's just meet and talk,
Mhm.
Why not? What's it hurting? And I think that's what we lack a lot in this country right now.
Absolutely.
It's just people that are willing to come together with different views and just talk, because all we see is what's online and what's in the media, and you just assume anybody that doesn't agree with what you do, that they're bad people, and it's just not always the case, because when you meet people face to face, you don't act like you do online, It's
Right.
not as easy to be an asshole. So therefore, you start showing your real self because, like I said, we're not just walking around the streets cussing each other out all day long for the most part,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what he was saying about Trump, is that it was a good surprise to him that it just wasn't
He
what
said
he
he was
expecting.
gracious, and he said that he didn't feel like he had to walk on eggshells when he was with him. He was really comfortable, and
Yeah. But it just shows you, like I said, because I saw he had a guest on that same show that he came out and was telling about his experience. He had a guest on his sitting at his little desk with him that, of course, was just pushing back at everything Bill Maher was saying. And Bill Maher was basically, in so many words, saying, it doesn't matter what the fuck you think. I'm telling you what happened. You know?
Yeah.
So, of course, he was blasting Maher, basically saying, you're pushing Trump as this good guy now, but don't you think Trump was just putting on an act? You know, so why are you going to sit here and act like it was, you know, it was legitimate the way that Trump was acting? But anybody who spent any time around Trump says the same thing.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody
I
that's ever
believe it.
spent any kind of time around him who was like, you know, he was a total fucking jerk. You
Right.
know, I mean, I haven't heard a single person.
No. No, I haven't
mean,
either. And I think Bill Maher was kind of saying more along the lines of, without saying it, but like the crazy asshole Trump that you see on TV is more of an act than what, you know, how he normally is.
Yeah. That is one of the clips that I did see was they were talking about that. You know, just how he is on TV, and you know, I think it's just because I don't know, man. Trump just has to control every environment, you know, every room that he's in. And let's face it, half the time he's being attacked. So why do you have to respond, you know, a certain way that people think you need to respond when you're being attacked? I mean, it's like nobody wants to sit up there on a world stage and be attacked by these assholes in the media and anybody else that gets a chance to ask him a question. So to me, you've in any president, you've got the right. If you don't like it, say it. I mean, we need more like that instead of these sugar-coated answers that we're always used to. And I think people have become so accustomed to that with you know, politicians and all, that when somebody like Trump comes out, it's like, whoa, like, what is he doing? And I'm thinking he's doing the same thing you'd be doing. You know, the average person.
I see nothing wrong with it. I mean,
No.
if you look at past presidents to this guy, I mean, is he a politician? Yeah, he's been in the game long enough. He served 4 years, so I would consider him a politician. But on the same aspect, I mean, it's like, dude, he's just a straight laced, this is how it is. This is how I feel. This is what I'm going to say. And if you don't like it, and a lot of them don't like that. They don't like that kind of talk. And they don't like being told that, no, you can't ask me a question. You know?
Yeah, they don't like it. I'm starting to see, though, a lot of the Democratic politicians are starting to try to act like that now.
Right.
Like, you know, they're online cursing and shit now, you know, which is something that they would have nobody ever did before, you know, like all of us, the average American, there's no telling how many times we curse a day, but the politicians, they always stayed away from that because they're supposed to, you know, they're on this pedestal where they're better than you.
Right.
You know, so they had to, you know, speak and, you know, speak proper and all this bullshit. Well, now they're starting to see how Trump resonated with the average person. And they're like, well, wait a second. So we got to get on there and say shit and damn and, you know, and fuck. And the problem is it just comes off as disingenuous when they do it. You know, it's not natural. So you can kind of see that they're just full of shit, but they're trying to follow that model now, you know, including the podcast that, you know, they're starting to go on or starting to put out. They saw what won. They saw exactly what won.
To any of Gavin Newsom's podcast, just by, you know,
Gavin
glancing?
Newsom's? No, I haven't. I mean, I've seen the little clip when he had who was that? Charlie Kirk, I think
Charlie
was the
Kirk,
first one we were talking about. Yeah, I've seen a couple little clips, but other than that, I just can't, because somebody like Gavin Newsom, like,
Absolutely.
like what is he gonna say that you're gonna sit back and believe? You know, it's hard when people have ruined all their credibility. You know, it'd be like listening to like Fauci come out with a medical podcast now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you done lost all credibility. Everybody knows Gavin Newsom's full of shit. So I know right now he's trying to save face. He's trying to jump on board and hope that that's going to, you know, get him somewhere with the average, you know, average everyday American. But I just think it's too late for people like him, because we've all seen their true colors during the pandemic. You know, we saw
I think
how.
what you got to watch too, man, is you might start seeing, you know, like what's his name, Abrams in New York, man, went independent, and you know, you might see Newsom, man, or some of these other politicians, like they might understand, well, the party is so far left, but you know what? For me, I'm so far left too, but for me to even get in on this game, I've got to kind of venture a little bit more to the center. But then, you know, and the way I look at it is like, once I'm elected, then I can.
That's always my thing, is how do you trust them when they start to move from one party and all of a sudden they say, well, I'm center. You know, is it just a tactic
Absolutely. I
because
think if you look at their past, it speaks it all. Unless they publicly come out and say that I
right,
no longer can support the Democrat Party on their
yeah,
views, on their ways, or their ideology, would I believe that maybe there's a chance,
yeah.
that
That's the problem with
you're
with trusting
and that's
any
not
of
going
them.
to happen. That's not going to happen on
No,
these hardcore liberals. It's just not going
it's
to happen.
not. All they, you might see one, like you said, every now and then they jump ship and kind of go
Right.
independent,
Right.
but they still don't sit there and just go at it like, okay, now I'm at war with that side I used to be on because I know they're wrong.
Exactly.
They
Yeah,
just
that's
know
true.
politically I can't follow this path right now.
Right.
So I've got to figure out something else. I don't want to sit there and jump on board with the Republicans yet, but I can't keep following this path because it's going to get me nowhere. So I don't think any
Right.
of it's genuine.
No.
That's the problem with any
Yeah.
of them. I don't know how you
Well,
pick any of them once Trump's out of there. They're
yeah.
all fucking politicians.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right about
But
that.
that's all right. His third term is coming. That freaks out the left. Every time they
Yeah.
hear that,
Does,
there's
dude.
probably
Yeah,
not an ounce of
absolutely.
fucking truth to it, but they hate hearing it. Third
Yeah.
term, baby.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
look, man, let's gloat, dude, while we can. People can
yeah,
say what they want.
enjoy it.
Let's just, all the haters out there. Look what Trump's doing to the economy. Look what Trump is doing with this, or nothing's going down. Look, he inherited a mess, and I'm sure it's the same thing. Like the Democrats say, well, we inherited a mess from you Republicans when Trump was in office. Which, I mean, look,
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think it's total bullshit. I think it was great. The economy was ruined. Interest rates were halfway decent. No inflation. The debt was a lot less. What they did in 4 years, it's just, yeah,
No, it's true. And I still think he has a hell of a team around him, but man, they got to start. They got to start doing a little bit
yeah.
more. And I,
And I tell you, like Trump himself, on a good note, I mean, the man never stops. It's, we dealt 4 years with a guy you might see once a week,
yeah,
you know? And so it's just, and people get pissed off. But look, I think he's a noble guy. I think he's an honest guy.
yeah, he was
I'd like to meet him, that's for sure. But I think
apparently
he's somebody to get along with.
yeah, he was at the UFC match the other night, and they were showing he was taking videos and pictures and shit on his fucking jet at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, like you said, he doesn't quit.
No,
He
you know?
doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't stop, and it's amazing. Some people can't at least admire that part about him, that his work
Right.
ethic. I mean,
Right.
it's
Well, I say Bill Maher, stick to your
non-stop.
game, dude. Say what you believe. And, look, Stephen A. Smith, man.
Yeah, what's up with Stephen A. Smith? I see
Who
he's
the
on
fuck's
right
that?
now, just looking at the TV over there, and of course, on the bottom of the screen, I see Stephen A. Smith on a potential 2028 run. I'm
He
like, I
did,
don't know
yeah.
if
He
you're
was
ready
trying
for
to get
all
an
that.
exploratory committee together, and he was, he goes, I think
Yeah.
it's something I have to do,
Oh
So, but,
yeah, he has to do. I don't know if he can survive the dirty games that these politicians play, man. There ain't too many Trumps out there. They run these people like him off, like a
yeah.
Stephen A. Smith.
And I
Like, you're
was kind
not
of hitting
part
on
of
because I
this.
think he's got some sympathy for Trump, and I don't think he thinks he's a bad guy. Politically they
No,
don't agree,
no,
but
yeah,
so. Oh yeah,
yeah. I just don't think it's a possibility. I just can't see
me neither.
President
No,
Stephen A. Smith. I mean, it's
no,
like
I see
stick to your
like
sports.
Newsom and AOC or something before that happens.
Yeah, and it's like I don't. And if you're Stephen A., like, why would you even want that fucking headache of these political nightmares? I mean, the man's making god
Yeah,
awful
didn't he
amounts of
just
money
sign an
right now.
ESPN
Yes,
deal or something,
yeah,
man, worth
just
probably
signing
Lord
these
knows what?
multi-million-dollar
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah,
talking sports. Like, stay with it, man. It's like you don't
absolutely.
want. There's no need because it's going to ruin your life for one. Because
Yeah,
they're coming after you. I guess. Well, and I
Yeah.
say that it depends on what political party you run for, and I would imagine he wouldn't run Republican. So if
no,
he's running as a Democrat, he may be safe, but they also look at him like you're in the way. You're taking potential votes away from who we really want up there.
yes,
So then,
yeah,
therefore, they I mean, you've seen them do it when they did it to, Bernie Sanders. No matter how, I think
right,
corrupt he is also, but
yeah,
as soon as he started gaining a little steam back, a few years ago, they ruined him.
yep,
Because it's like we always say, most of the time outside of Trump, you're not elected, you're appointed. And they're not
yes,
going to appoint Stephen A. Smith as president. So,
no, right.
I just
Yeah,
think
didn't
it's a
Bernie
big waste
Sanders
of
run like 17 times for president or something?
why stop now?
Yeah, right.
President Bernie.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
absolutely.
least he doesn't hide his socialist ways. So
Mm-mm.
he'll tell you loud and
Uh,
proud.
3 mansions later, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
Speaking of mansions, did you see that the story going around with that teen in Texas that stabbed a kid where he got bonded out because the judge lowered his bond
I did
Yeah,
see
like
that.
250,000,
Yeah,
and they were talking about all that money that they raised.
yeah. Give me the caveat, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
all
heard
that
about
money that they raised for him, and they said they raised $500,000 in legal defense and moved to a mansion, bought a Cadillac Escalade,
Well,
Like they just
goddamn.
went on a shopping spree, you know.
Wow.
Now, I haven't vetted any of this, but I've seen it from a few different,
I've heard the
journalists,
same thing.
sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be all bullshit, fake news. But they do live in that house, and it is a nice. I mean, it's like an $800,000 home.
Wow.
But I'm thinking, how could it have happened that fast? I don't think, I mean,
Yeah. Might be
being
some
in
bullshit behind it.
real estate, yeah, you don't close on a home in a week.
Right.
But
Maybe you do if you got cash.
well, that's true. You got cash money, like hey, and but yeah, they said they're not doing the greatest things with that money. But like I said, it all depends on who you listen to with that. I think it's just people stirring up shit online. But
Probably.
I did see the judges like hardcore, like liberal DEI, was basically like we're
That has
lowering
nothing
this
to do with it.
bond, and I don't know, man. I don't even know how I feel about that because you are presumed innocent, until found guilty. So now you're being held in jail for on $1 million that your family can't afford, and I
Yep.
mean, what do you do in shit like cases like that? I mean, suppose the dude does get off with self defense, and then they got him stuck in jail for however
Right.
long because he can't afford bond.
Probably.
I don't
year
know how
before,
how the criteria of them setting bond. I mean, I'm not sure how that works. I guess it goes by the crime, of course, but
Yeah.
is it bigger? Is it like the more of a threat they think you are, or a flight
And a
Maybe
risk?
flight
flight risk or
risk
something.
and
Yeah.
your ability to flee. And
Right.
Yeah, I don't think the kid's a flight risk. I mean, I think he thinks he's going to beat this. At least that's what his lawyers are going to tell him.
yeah,
Because whatever lawyers on this case, their name is going to be all in the media.
right.
So they're going to have their 15 minutes of fame too. So they're probably chomping at the bit to get a hold of this kid. Every
You
every
think they
defense
do like
lawyer
a?
out there that wants to make a name.
You
It's
think
kind of
they
like
do
the ones
a
that
change of
defended
venue or something, dude?
what's that? A
You
change of
think they do
venue?
a change of venue?
Uh
Because you would think whatever town that was, where was it, dude? What was it?
yeah, I don't know what.
Outside of Houston or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, change of venue I guess would be in I guess in his favor. And it may be
Probably.
granted because I know that's what I think that's what Rittenhouse wanted, and they were like, nope. But I mean,
Right.
they had it
Exactly.
out for that kid.
Right.
They
Yeah.
nobody, no judge, nobody wanted to be the one to give that kid a break because of all hell that was breaking loose in the country
Yeah.
back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything was denied,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
They was
But
on
that
his
was a lot
ass.
why his lawyers jumped on his team. They knew this
Right.
shit was a huge case, and all
Yeah.
that does is just, catapult their careers.
And it did. I'd pay him.
Exactly. See, if you were in that kind of trouble, you'd pay them. So that's all it took. That's all it took was
Genetically.
one
you
big case,
think,
and they all know it.
You think this Wisconsin teen would pay him with what he's in? I don't know if you've seen the story about the teen that killed his two parents in his plot to assassinate Donald Trump.
So wait, he killed his two parents in a plot to assassinate Trump.
Yes. So a Wisconsin
more.
teen allegedly killed his parents to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to kill President Donald Trump and overthrow the U.S. government, federal
Right.
authorities said in court documents. He was 17. He was arrested in March and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of hiding a corpse. Other charges include theft of property over $10,000 and misappropriating ID to obtain money. So he did all this so that he could get to and kill Trump and overthrow the government.
And it didn't work.
No, he got as far as killing his
Damn.
parents, and then
All that planning, and it didn't work. So he killed his parents.
yep.
Yeah.
And what was supposed to be his next move?
He was gonna. I guess he got them out the way so that nobody would question where he was when he did go to kill Trump. But his next move was to steal their money so that he would have funds to get to Trump to kill him.
I mean, it's a foolproof plan. Kill your parents, steal their money, and then go after Trump.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds
And
like
overthrow the
17 years
government.
old. Yeah, and overthrow the government. Yeah, at 17. I don't see the problem.
No.
It's like,
Man.
imagine being, no matter what age, like believing something like that in your mind. I can do this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy that you even made it to 17 thinking like that.
Right.
The truth.
You figure the first
So-
time your parents grounded you, that would have been you'd have took it
Well-
in your own hands to fix that problem.
It's Trump. It's Trump's fault.
That's true.
So the
that is
feds are
part-
pushing conspiracy, presidential assassination, and use of weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
They found material on his phone related to the Order of Nine Angels, which is a network of individuals holding new Nazi racially motivated extremist views.
Damn. See, and that's part of the problem with the way, the hyperbole from the media and all. They build Trump up to be such a bad guy that you got a kid like this that's 17 that it's something's going to make him snap. And apparently that's what it was. Now, that's not to say he wouldn't have snapped at something later on in life or whatever, but that's how polarizing this shit is. In his mind, he thought the right thing to do was to take my parents out and go, take care of Trump. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, how do you get that far gone?
Yeah, and he even went as far as, I'm reading now, it says he was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president and overthrow the government. And he paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives to be used as a weapon of mass destruction to commit the attack. So he was going to blow the government up with a drone.
So he was going to use a drone. He was just going to go in there and take out the whole government.
That was his plan.
I kind of want to meet this kid. Can we get him on here?
Probably.
I just want to sit him down and say, okay, what the fuck were you thinking? And that's it. Just let him go.
Just run me through the plan, dude.
Yeah, just tell me this plan. And then where were you going after you destroyed the government with this drone? Like, and now what? I want to give him a real fucking, like a Fox News interview, Fucking
I just don't understand how you're even... Like you said, how you're that far along at 17. Like, I didn't give a fuck about politics at 17.
Yeah, that is
definitely
true.
not enough to try to kill the president.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Just caring that much about politics at 17 to do some foolish shit like that. Now, I mean, like I said, from the sounds of it, this kid was going to do something stupid at some point.
Probably.
But to do it over politics at 17, that was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, because, I mean, I was 17 and Obama was in office, and, I mean, we know how that went, but I wasn't like...
But it does show
this
you
motherfucker out.
It does show you the difference, though, nowadays with how much access young people do have.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young people that are into it now that would have never been because, I mean, shit, when I was coming up, the social media wasn't around. I mean, the internet was, but it wasn't like it is.
But
where
newspapers, dog.
I was going to say, and even in like, when I was that age with social media, obviously it was around and it was a big thing, but news outlets weren't on social media like they are now.
Yeah, that's true. News, it wasn't all day, everyday news on social media. It was more of just friends and crazy videos. Where now it's just news. So as a young person today, you can't avoid it. It's all over TikTok. Because I get texts from young people now saying, "Hey, I just saw this going on TikTok. What is this about? Or is this real?" And it's news and politically related. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, listen, how did you even know about that? At your age, because I'm just looking back, like I said, at my age, we didn't have access to all that shit unless you sat there watching some bullshit on TV, some kind of CNN or some nonsense. The last thing I was doing at 17.
No. Turn cartoons off or watching CNN.
No, I'm going outside. These kids don't know about outside. You go out your door and there's a whole new world, man. It's awesome. Touch some grass, like they say.
So.
Yeah,
plan didn't work, basically.
No, it didn't.
It
didn't.
Did you see John Kennedy talking about AOC?
No.
He said she's the reason they have directions on shampoo bottles.
John Kennedy. He's got some good ones, but I always tell Brad this. That's the only thing I don't care is I know every time this man speaks, he's looking for a soundbite, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that redneck accent, he's from Louisiana, and he always like to throw out these little funny jabs because he knows the shit's going to be played a million times. And it's like, come on, dude, just do your political job, for whatever you're doing for Louisiana, and, stop with all the one-liners and shit. But it was funny.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
What do y'all feel about Trump trying to work on getting, like, restoring felons' gun rights and shit?
Is Trump working on that, trying to restore the rights of
supposedly,
felons to own firearms?
Depending on the crime.
Certain nonviolent convictions.
Yeah. I'm with Brad. I think it depending on the crime. If it's a nonviolent, if you're in there for a DWI, and you've served your time, I don't see a problem with it between voting and owning a firearm, as long as it's not a violent felony. I'm surprised it hasn't been changed by now.
Me too.
But that's something he's looking at doing.
Yeah, he's working on it.
That's cool.
Long time
I think
coming.
so.
Bro, he
People are
just
saying
keeps-
that it's so that he can get his gun rights back.
Oh, come on. That's what it is. So Trump can have his gun right. Like Trump's worried about having a gun. Like that would,
Retarded.
man, they'll say anything on the internet. So that's why Trump is fixing this issue so
Yes.
he can own a gun
So
again.
he can
Oh,
have his gun
Jesus.
rights
So he
back.
can get his concealed carry, dude. Yes.
Is that what it is?
absolutely.
Yeah. No, he's out. He's worried about kicking ass and taking names. I'm telling you, love him or hate him, one thing Trump you could say about him is he wants to be the best at everything he does. Now, you don't have to like what he does.
Right.
So no matter what his intentions are with this presidential shit, the point of it to him is I want to go down in history as being looked at as the best. Now, I always say that it
Absolutely.
probably comes from some selfish reasons and the ego of Trump, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't care how big his ego is. If that's his goal to go down as one of the best presidents ever, then hey, let the man cook. What's the problem? You know?
Because I think that's why it works with these other countries. You know, he can almost, I mean, I say almost, he can bully other countries because he's got that ego of I am the best. So y'all are going to listen to what the fuck I'm saying. And they're not used to that, you know?
Right.
These other country leaders are used to just like, hey, what if we think about sitting down and making a deal? And Trump's like, fuck you. This is what I'm doing. If you want to come talk to me, come talk to me. If not, this is what's happening.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, is China still standing their ground?
I think kind of both sides are a little backing off because, you know, he put the pause on certain electronics and this and that. Now, NVIDIA just announced that they were going to invest, I think it's $500 billion into making semiconductors in the States. So they're building a factory out here to make semiconductors and shit. So that's a plus. But I guess him and China are backing off. I saw a little headline that they were supposed to be meeting up sometime this week or next week.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I did see the last I saw that leader over there at China was saying that he's willing to negotiate, but it needs to be basically an even playing field, like the respect level.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, I'm not going to go in a room and Trump's just going to be the one running the show, which I don't think you're going to get anything less than that out of Trump, but still.
No.
And I don't think that, you know, the China leader, what's his name, Xi or whatever. I don't think
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, I don't
something.
think he really believes that he's going to go into a room with Trump and they're going to be on even playing fields. But he can't look weak in front of his people. I mean, he's still a leader, so he has to say shit like that. But
Yeah.
that was the last I had read anything about it, but I hadn't paid much
Yeah.
attention the last
And
couple of days.
it's weird that, like, to me, that he's throwing shots at, like, the private companies now. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but they've been posting, like, videos of basically, like, Temu Sheen bags are being
I've
made in
seen
the
that.
same
Yeah,
factory
yeah.
as, like, Louis Vuitton and
Yeah,
shit.
what possessed
he's like-
China to come out and do that? Because you're right. I see him, like, trying to say that these same bags, these handbags and all these luxury items that you're paying
Yes.
for, they're all made in China, so it's all crap. They're just
Yeah.
relabeling them.
So he's saying basically, look, this is where your $2 bags are being made, and this is where your $25,000 bags are being made. So Trump wants to tariff it, to stop sales from China, basically, so that America manufactures. But these Louis bags that we're selling to Louis Vuitton right here, we'll sell them to you for $50. Buy them straight from us.
Oh, is that what I was wondering what their tactic was behind it. So they're basically like, instead of paying them high prices with these tariffs that are about to hit, you can get this same bag straight from us. But, I mean, do you really believe that that's the bags, like the Louis Vuitton? I mean, you think there's any better quality to what these people are claiming that they have in China, that it's the same bag?
I think they're really made in China, but I think there's levels to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think they're like, hey, we'll pay you an extra 50 cents a bag, but we need a higher quality bag, you know what I mean, than just a Walmart bag. So I think a lot of it's in materials more than it is the actual manufacturing
I was about
process.
to say, I had read that somewhere too, that a lot of it was the materials will go to wherever, like France or whatever, and they'll say this is where it's from now. It's from France. But all the materials were made in China. And that's at least what China is claiming. Now, it could be propaganda. Nobody's come out from Louis Vuitton or the rest of these companies and disputed it yet, at least that I've seen. You think they would rush to do that and say, oh, no, because it's like, I mean, you're selling $1,000 bags, and that's probably on the cheap end. I don't know.
Cheap.
But, yeah, the last thing you need is somebody, ruining that business.
That's like cheap used bags,
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton. That shit's nuts. But
Really?
Oh
It's
yeah,
amazing
dude.
people pay that kind of money for a fucking bag to put some stuff in just because
Yeah.
it's got some logo on it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess when I was
and
young, I mean, I was same
yeah,
thing with shoes. You want name brand
but
clothes and
who
everything,
runs
you
around
know.
with Louis Vuitton? It's like fucking 50-year-old white women,
Yeah, and
and
six
rappers.
and 6'9". Yeah, Takashi.
Yeah,
He's got. Yeah,
he does.
yeah,
It's nothing
Uh,
different, dude, than back in the day if it was Jabot jeans or Guess jeans or,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah. We
Polo,
all fall
whatever.
for
But
the name
the
Dude,
brand shit at
difference
some
is
point.
that most of us do it when we're kids, but when you get into the Louis and shit like that,
yeah,
it's older
grown
people because
people.
kids
It's
can't
it's a
afford it. It's a
status
fucking
thing.
yeah.
$25,000 bag. You know,
Well,
you're not gonna
Brad
see a
just said it. Yeah,
teenager.
Brad just said it's a status thing. You
It's
Yeah,
know.
like a Rolex. To me, my wife has one. It was a gift from my mother before she passed, but the thing keeps a horrible time, dude. It really does.
I
And look,
believe it,
we've
but
had
it
So
it
your
keeps.
wife's
since
got a Rolex that keeps terrible time.
it keeps
That's
terrible time. You
fucked
know
up.
why? Because you
Why?
have to wear it every
You have to
day.
wear it to wind
You
it.
gotta
Yeah,
wear
it's a
them.
perpetual motion
Mm-hmm.
watch,
Okay.
and yeah, you got to wear it,
It's
dude. But
it's
yeah,
got a
like I
weight
said,
in it that
just to
spins
like
when you walk around, and it'll wind the
Okay.
yeah,
watch up.
so just to wear it one night and take it off and put it in a drawer for a week and then put it back on, it's gonna be off, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would buy one just because they do keep their
overpriced.
value.
I
But
guess. Yeah. I
but they
guess
keep
for
their
an
value.
investment.
If you
Yeah,
just wanted to have it sitting around and it's like,
Well,
they keep
I
their
have
value.
some people defend their addiction to buying these expensive watches is that an investment. You know.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Now.
If you
Yeah,
do it
I mean, if
right.
you look at it like that, yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
because if you can get into like Rolex right now, if you can get on their list to be able to buy a watch new from Rolex, you could walk out the store and sell it for $5,000 more than you bought it for. Like you just can't, not the little oyster basic,
perpetuals, yeah,
but if you go and buy a $15,000 watch straight from Rolex, you can walk out and sell it for 20. All their higher models are going for more on the street than they are from Rolex because you can't just walk in there and buy one. They won't let you.
I see them
know?
at the corner gas station in the city all the
Yeah.
time. They'll have them
Go get one.
Rolexes, 25, $30, dude.
$25, yeah.
Yep.
But
I
No,
wouldn't know the difference.
it's probably
man. I don't
a
pay
good
no
investment,
attention.
like gold or silver or something like that, diamonds or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know, man.
No.
I'd have to have plenty of money to start buying Rolexes, you know.
yeah, I mean that's why I don't
Even
own
Tag
one.
Heuers
I
and all
would,
of that
but
kind of stuff, dude. Yeah, I'm just no. It's just
I
not
own
me.
some Citizens, and that's it.
Yeah, dude, I'm wearing a golf watch, dude. I don't even play golf.
That's it. That's all I got. A couple Citizens. They're black. When we go out, I can put them on, but no. But yeah, so that was China's thing with talking shit about the iPhones. They were like, we don't rip off your iPhones one for one because we're trade partners. It wouldn't make sense. So we make them a little less quality and we sell them cheaper, but it's not the exact same thing. But if y'all want to play, then we'll just make twice as many normal iPhones, sell y'all's, and then we'll sell them half price to
So
everybody.
so they basically have the technology to build good shit.
Yeah.
Like these iPhones you're talking about, if they wanted to, but since they have such a good relationship with somebody like
Yes.
Apple, they're like,
Well,
look,
with
we won't-
America,
with America, yeah, we won't match your quality,
yes.
but don't fuck around because we can.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
basically what
Because
they're
China's saying they follow our intellectual property laws based
Yeah.
on just a handshake deal of like, yeah, no problem. We
'cause that's
trade,
all it
we're
is,
great
'cause-
partners, cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say because everything's knocked off over there, So I guess you got to be a
Yeah.
real big company in the States for them not to. But you get on like Temu, for instance, and there's a knockoff of everything.
Exactly.
There is no. It may be a handshake deal, but that's about as far as it goes over there in China.
And it is, it's knockoff stuff, but if you're ordering from Temu, the quality's not going to be there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But they do that on purpose, according to them.
Yeah, and I would
So
think
that-
somebody like Apple has the buying power to say, well, look, you rip us off, we won't manufacture over here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they might until, somebody starts selling half-price iPhones to everybody.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'm not paying $1,500 for an iPhone that I can get the same exact one-for-one copy from
But
them for
I mean,
$400.
I just don't know how you would know that at first, because somebody would have to take the chance and say,
Well,
okay,
China
I'm
getting on the news and telling you.
yeah, well, yeah, and people actually saying, well, I'll try it, and then word starts to spread that damn, these cheap iPhones from China, they are nice, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, what do
they
you do about software and stuff? I mean, do they
Well,
still
that's
let you
true.
get
Like the software updates, because it's not going to be an Apple iPhone.
right?
Yeah, I don't know about the updates, but I mean,
It'd
all
be
that's
Apple.
done like in house, you know, like they have them programmed and everything by the time they ship out of China.
Yeah, but I just think with the way technology is that Apple would have to have a way to not
They
update
gotta
your
have some
phone,
secure.
or if it's
Well,
not
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
shit. So I think they would fall short there. You know, they'd have to
Yeah.
find the like the service to be able to sell you something like
Yeah,
that. You know.
I
Yeah.
think their point is just we won't steal your shit,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
all
I'm still
handshake
waiting.
deals of we're not going
Yeah.
to steal it, you know, because I mean, even like Windows and shit, like if you were producing Windows for Windows, it's like I know the in and out of this
Sure.
fucking software. I can just copy it over here, change a letter in it, and you know, put my own updates out. Like I do all the updates for Windows anyway, so
Yeah.
fuck it, you know.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. That's it's just some of that stuff. I don't know. I guess somebody in China would know, like you said, all the ins and outs of like a Windows software that they could just mimic it if they wanted to. I mean, because
Yeah.
they're making them apparently, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
But it was like I was watching. I was on X, and somebody used to work at TikTok. You know, kind of behind the scenes over there. They're no longer with it. Whatever, kind of spilling the beans about how not even spilling the beans in a bad way, but just saying how the algorithm is second to none when it comes to this TikTok stuff. That the way that they developed it, but he said it's such a closed, like like even him working there behind the scenes, he don't even know exactly how they do what they do when it comes to that algorithm on something like on TikTok. So I would imagine there's ways that to keep people out of your shit if you're a
I
big
would think so.
corporation like a
I
Microsoft
mean,
or
it's the
something.
security, dude, for one.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
yeah, but it just
Look,
seems
maybe you
like
buy the phone and it's good for until they they do an upgrade or something. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I
Remember
think
cable
they need
boxes
a
back in
good
the day, dude? You get the scrambled cable box and then
yes, and when they
and then they would
unscrambled
hit
it,
it and then
yeah.
turn it back on. It's not working. You know.
No, they need a good American-made, uh, you know, option basically when it comes to these phones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they need. That's why I think Elon needs to get in on it. As long as it don't cost as much as a fucking Cybertruck. But
They had an American made cell phone at one point. The actually the FBI wound up shutting it down, but it was almost like a Snapchat phone or some shit. Like it was
okay.
it was made by a guy, and he was closely related to somebody in a huge criminal organization, and they needed a way to be discreet, right? So he made this phone from scratch that would be end-to-end encrypted. It would delete everything after a certain period of time, and he started selling it to these criminal organizations and shit. So it was all his code and everything. Well, eventually the FBI catches on. They every time they arrest, people in several different organizations, they see these phones, because word gets out. He's selling them. He's making fucking money off these things. So the FBI approaches him and they're like, "What the fuck's up with these phones?" He wouldn't talk the first couple of times, and they wound up getting him on like conspiracy or some shit, and he was looking at like time. So he was like, "All right, well, I'll talk." And he had a back door in the code where he could basically kill the end-to-end encryption and track everything. So that's what he wound up doing for the FBI, and it went worldwide. They were tracking down and catching criminals off this fucking encrypted American phone.
see, and it's crazy because guy like that can sit there and develop something like that, but
Yep.
yet our government is over here having supposedly private conversations basically through fucking X fucking
Like
DMs
a
or whatever
Kik
they were
app.
using. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just so crazy that it's still to think that they don't have their own service or system when it comes to United States government to talk when it comes to what they were talking about.
Right.
You
You were
know?
talking about that meeting with,
Yeah, the meeting
was
with
that
Hegseth
Signal or
and,
something like that they were using, or some crap, some third
Signal, yeah,
party.
whatever the fuck
Yeah.
they were using. Like,
Yeah.
you would just think that the government would have something that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
that
sure
the
they
American
do,
public
but yeah,
doesn't know
but it's
about.
crazy.
And when we're going to send messages via text or whatever the fuck they were doing, this is what we're going to use.
Yeah.
And therefore you don't ever accidentally include a fucking journalist in on it. I mean, it's crazy.
And you got this guy that just for fun develops a cell phone with end-to-end encryption for, you know, and winds up being a fucking, like, he wound up being, I mean, huge in the criminal underground world on accident, you know?
That's crazy.
One person got it and he was like, damn, this is pretty nice. And then he got it for his little group, and then the word got out to like the cartels, and then it was to, you know, whatever the gangs over in Japan are, all the way into like England, and like it was worldwide. He was selling these fucking things.
Damn.
But the government uses a Chime app or whatever the fuck.
Well, did you see you know, not just to switch gears, did you see the thing in Idaho where that cop shot that 17-year-old got cerebral palsy, and he's autistic, and they shot him while he was he had a knife, but he was behind a fence, so there really wasn't anything he was gonna be able to do.
I mean,
did you watch that?
He was moving at them.
So you saw the video?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, what was he gonna do with the fence between the police and him? You know what I mean? Like how was that?
I mean,
not saying it's not justified, but
they
I'm
weren't
asking,
like 15 feet away from the fence.
How close were? I don't even know if
They
I
were
ever
pretty
watched
close
the whole,
to it.
Let me pull it up on here.
They were right there, all four of them.
Let's
I
see.
mean, had they have not shot and not moved, he could have definitely lunged over and stabbed him.
Really? Let's look at it. Let's see.
Yep.
Let's pull it up. Y'all can see it on there. Brad, your audio's a little low too. I don't know if you want to turn your.
Is it?
Yeah, just
Is that
let you
better?
know.
All I can see is us.
I'm about to share it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There it is. Boom. All right. So I'm looking. Okay, he's on the ground?
So right now he was attacking, like, he was threatening one of the neighbors
One of the neighbors
with a knife. And then somebody
right.
called and was like, this
looks
drunk
like
guy's
they're-
out here with a knife.
It looks like they're fending him off with a stick.
Yeah.
So he's on the ground. The police roll up. Bad Boys music starts playing. There they come.
So right here, they think they're dealing with a drunk, high guy that has a
Okay.
knife.
I got you. So they're right next to the fence. He's on the ground still. He jumps up.
Wrestling with a
why-
lady.
And then he unloaded on him.
He ran
So
at
why-
the fence.
But why not just back up if there's a fence in between
Well,
you?
what do you now? Okay, say they backed up and he stabs this lady in the fucking throat.
Oh, he had
Who's
that
mad
lady?
now?
Oh, he had the lady still? I can't see because the
Yeah,
video
she
looks like
was
it was
kinda right
filmed with
there.
a fucking Android. So I couldn't see it.
I agree.
Okay, so there was a lady on the ground that he was wrestling with.
Yeah, those two people, whoever they were trying to wrestle that
I
knife
got you.
away
So
from
what's
him. when
all
the
the
police showed up.
outrage about? I guess
Because
people
he was
looking at outrage.
autistic
I mean, he's
and-
17. It's a tragedy for sure, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if 17 or not, or autistic or whatever.
Yeah,
You
I
can't
don't-
have a knife holding somebody.
Attacking people, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of
Yeah,
mental retardations you have. If you're attacking people with knives, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, the first thing I saw just from reading the headline, it looked like he was just on the other side of a fence with a knife, and he wouldn't put the knife down.
mhm.
So instead of the police just backing up, with the
Right.
fence in between them, they decided to unload on him. But now that I do watch the video, sometimes it helps.
Well,
to pay
most
attention to
of them
what's really
start
going on.
right before they shoot, so all you see is them and him.
Yeah,
Dude, I hit on that. We hit on that with Rob, man. It's like the optics sometimes are bad.
yeah.
You know?
Well, the optics are bad, especially when you do
Yep.
like I do and don't actually watch the video.
Right.
Then of course
Yeah,
I
we
just
talked
read the
about
head.
that it's like, you don't
Yeah.
see what went on before, or here we are,
No,
you're
and
seeing this. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, God, why they unloading on this dude, man? Holy
Yeah, it's like
crap,
I get it. He had a knife, so
Yeah,
at first
and
I'm
then you-
thinking that's no reason
Justin
to just.
let us in on it, and like, no,
Yeah.
listen. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, I didn't realize he still had a lady on the ground while he had a knife in his hand, and then he jumps up off the ground, comes towards the fence where the cops are right behind the fence. So I guess they
Right.
said, all right, we had enough of this. But
Yeah, because
But-
I mean, even though he let her go, it's like, as a cop, it's like, okay, if I back up and he turns around and starts stabbing this lady and kills
Yeah.
her, well, now they're looking at me like I didn't do my job. If I shoot this kid, they're looking at me like I didn't do my job.
true,
you know?
yeah, you're right. If they don't
It's a
take him down
no-win
and he kills that
situation.
lady,
Right.
So
It
what
really
you
is.
think, like as far as using a taser in that point, like you basically there's, I guess that's not a good idea
I
either
think
because
when
that
the
doesn't,
general public's life is in danger, fuck a
yeah,
taser.
fuck a taser when somebody else's life is in danger because that doesn't always work as you've
No.
seen. Because I see that a lot with, and not just this story, but other stories where somebody gets shot. Well, why didn't they just tase him? You know, and it's like, well, in this situation, he's got a knife. You tased this kid. Looks like he's going crazy anyway. And that shit, that
Yeah.
tasing doesn't always stop some people. They yank that shit right out of them when they're in that
Right.
rage, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, they weren't there for very long, you know. And like I said, the original call that came in was there's a guy that's either super drunk or he's high and he's attacking people with a knife.
I got you.
So
Yeah.
they're not going in like, oh, this guy's threatening, you know, 4 houses down with a knife and we're going to, you know, he is attacking somebody with a knife.
Damn. Well,
Yep.
Did you see
Tough
that video
situation.
of that cop? There was a black dude. He was kind of sleeping on. It was like a cement ledge, right? And he was sleeping, and the cop, somebody called in for a welfare check on this guy that may or may not be dead on this cement block. So they come. It's one cop, and he's like, hey buddy, da da da. He's yelling at him like, you know, what's up? And he winds up kicking his foot. He kicks the guy that's laying on the ledge his foot, and
Right.
the dude jumps up and just starts fucking. He's getting in the cop's face, you motherfucker, da 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 da. Well, I was arguing with people in the comments of this video on TikTok because I'm like, all right, they're mad because the police shouldn't just be touching people, da da da. And I was like, okay, but I was like, had that have been your brother laying on that cement bench and he was laying there fucking overdosing on heroin, and the police just were like, hey, buddy, he's not responding. Oh, well, you know,
just
he
walk
is
off.
there. Let's walk
Yeah.
off. And then he dies. Now you're going to
Yeah.
be mad at the fucking cops
See-
because they didn't do enough.
Well,
but
and
when
that's
they
what-
touch him, now you're fucking mad because they're touching people for no reason.
And that's what makes it so hard about any of these stories because it's like no matter what the cops do, there's somebody's not going to be happy with what they did because like you said,
Right.
this guy was passed out on a bench or something,
Yeah. he
and
was
so they went over
sleeping.
there and kind of kicked his foot to see if he was awake. And
Yep.
like you said, had this dude been ODing and the cops just walk right past him, then they'd be like, the cops didn't even care.
Look
He
at them.
was
They're
o-
not
my-
doing nothing.
My brother was over there dying, and they didn't even check on him. You know what I mean? So
True.
now people are pissed off
100%
that they
true.
went over there and basically quote unquote fucking with him.
Yeah.
Waking him up.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, you can't win in a lot of these situations. Just like that video we just watched. I mean, with that autistic kid. I mean, you can't win. You know, some people are going to say, well, he wasn't going to hurt that lady. That was his family member or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
they didn't have to shoot him like they did. But then others are going to say, just like you said, well, if they don't shoot him and he kills that lady, now they're looking at the cops like, why the fuck didn't you stop him?
Right.
You know,
Right.
so yeah, you can't win. You can't win as a police officer in situations like that. I mean, sometimes they do stupid shit that there's no argument for, but most of the time it's a judgment decision, man, and you're gonna piss one side off.
Yeah.
You know, so you just got to make it, I guess, the best of your, do what you can, the best you know how.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of like with our buddy Rob, in that Katrina situation. I mean, they thought they were doing what was right, out there protecting the city, and they're getting shot at. Crazy shit's going on. They wind up shooting and killing people that were unarmed, and then now all the police are in prison. But it wasn't like they were out there maliciously trying to do something stupid, but they had to make a decision.
Yeah.
What do we do? The city's in chaos. People are shooting. We shoot back.
Right.
Depending on what side of the aisle you're on with that, you look at that as right or wrong. But knowing Rob and knowing of some of those other officers that were involved in that, I mean, none of them were out there with the intent to say, "Hey, let's go kill people."
Yeah.
And I
agree
doubt
with you,
that's what
dude.
these cops that pulled up on that
110%.
autistic guy. I
Yeah.
doubt that was their plan that day. Hey, let's go
Right.
shoot a 17-year-old.
No.
Right.
But they're going to be looked at like that. So
Yep. Yeah, when Rob was talking the other night, I was just thinking about like it's got to be so much easier to be like in war than to be like a cop, with the rules of engagement. But then I'm thinking I hear some of these people that have been in war. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
this it was a sniper. He was talking about their rules of engagement when they were over there. And it was basically like, a guy can run out and he's playing with a bomb, and you're instructed that you have to fire a warning shot, 2 warning shots past him to let him know that, like, hey, you're about to be shot before you can shoot this guy,
Yeah.
you know? And he's like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and I've always wondered how much of that, I guess I'll say, is true, because I know there are rules of engagement, and especially when it comes to our military. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we'll be fighting forces that they don't have rules, but
which
we
is
do.
stupid.
We're supposed to be
Yeah.
humane. But I'm curious how much of that shit goes on that, you know, where they're not waiting, you know, to fire a warning shot. They're just taking somebody out.
Any of them that don't have cameras.
That's what I mean. Like, how much of it is legit, you know?
Yeah, because he didn't say he followed those rules of engagement.
but
He
there
just
are
said that's what they
rules.
expected him to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I get it. I mean, I guess, you know, there needs
I
to
don't
be
get it.
some
I think
kinda-
that's fucking stupid. We're in war.
Well, if it's the enemy, yeah, I say no rules. But,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, who's making these rules? The presidents, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, like the you know, or whoever they're putting in charge of the military, and it's
Yeah,
like the
it's-
presidents are the ones starting these fucking wars that's getting these innocent people killed, and then they want to send our soldiers over there and say, hey, look, we want y'all to fight, but you have to do it like this, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for your greedy fucking ass, you know, wanting to fight whatever this bullshit war is.
Yep.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's
Fuck
why
that.
military
Take no
leaders, man.
prisoners.
take no
Get in,
prisoners. Huh?
get the
That's your-
job done. Get the fuck out.
That's the way it should be. Dude.
What's your boy from the movie? That American Sniper, Chris Kyle or
Kyle?
whatever. Yeah, it's a shame. What a tragedy when they, you know, trying to help somebody out.
He was
man,
trying to
help
do
another
good,
vet.
man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get smoked at the shooting range.
he'd be huge right now, like with his podcast world.
Oh my god.
he would be.
dude.
He'd be massive. What's that? Sean Ryan or whatever. He'd be
Yeah.
another one of him. Because he had some
Absolutely.
hell of a stories, man. He'd be making a killing with this podcast shit. You know, and it'd be interesting to listen to that.
Yeah.
And to go out like that, you know, all the tours
Yeah.
that dude did
You
voluntarily.
get back. Get taken out of the
Absolutely.
fucking shooting
Yeah,
range.
go to the shooting range, you know, with trying to help somebody, and to go out like that.
From an
like, oh,
ex-vet, dude.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. I
Justin,
still
let
think
me
it's
ask you a
fucking
question.
nuts that you can just sign up for the Ukraine war. Nobody else finds it
You
as
should
crazy as
sign
I
up.
do, but I think
You
that's fucking
should
nuts.
sign
You could
up
just
for the
go
Ukraine
online and
war.
put it in like a job application.
And then what?
that's-
But you got to fund yourself to get over there.
No,
if you wanna-
they'll pay you to come.
They'll pay you to come fight in
Oh
Ukraine.
yeah. Yep. Sign up.
Did you
They'll
see
give
some
you.
of
They'll,
those videos, Shane, where like in Ukraine, a little dude's riding his bicycle and like 2 vans pull up, military people get out, and actually take this dude, throw him in the van, dude. And that they said, if you read the article, that's how hard up they were to find male
find-
fighters within
really?
the country. Yeah.
that's
Were
why
y'all
you can
taking
go
young
on and
kids?
apply like you're
It
at
was a
Walmart.
kid?
Wow, dude, he was on a bicycle. I mean, he was probably.
Yeah, I was just
of
curious. Like, I
age,
mean, they're
you
not.
know, it's not like
yeah.
he was 8 years old. No.
Oh,
he
okay,
was
but
probably-
still, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
some
to me, he's a
innocent
kid at
person riding down the
17 or
street on a
18 years
bicycle.
old, you know.
They pull up in a van, snatch your ass, and say, "Now you
Yeah.
fight for us."
That's
Like,
it, dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
fuck
it's
that.
crazy. Yeah, it's out there.
That was a
But,
terrible Ukraine accent, but I don't care. You know, you got the point.
yeah.
What you was gonna ask?
I wanted to ask you a question, man. Going back to when we were talking about felons. Dude, you've heard of a lot of this non-lethal weapons that are out there, if it's burner or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Do you think a felon should, or are they allowed to own something like that? Because it doesn't have to be registered. It's it's legal in all 50 states.
What is?
So, like what's it called? Burner.
Yeah, they're
guns,
called
where
burners. It's like a
non-lethal, you know?
pepper ball gun.
Oh, like a
Which I think
paintball
is a
gun, but it
terrible
shoots-
idea for anybody because I think it's a perfect way to get yourself shot, honestly, because it
Absolutely,
looks like a
yeah.
gun, like it looks like
Yeah,
you're carrying a
if you look at
Glock,
it.
but you're
You
shooting
think that
pepper
would be
balls.
Like considered a firearm? Like as
I don't
far as
know.
how
My
the
question
laws-
is, can a felon,
don't-
a convicted felon own something like that? Being that they're a convicted felon. I mean, it's a
don't know
non.
that
You don't have
you
to
can
register
own-
it. You know.
Then I wouldn't imagine it'd be a problem. I mean, it'd be like telling them they can't own a BB gun, huh? And
Yeah,
I don't
I guess
think they can.
I don't know if you can
I don't
own
know. Never
pepper
been a
spray
felon,
and
I
shit as a
don't know.
felon because I know, like in New York, you can't just own pepper spray. Period.
You can't own
But
shit in New York to protect
nothing.
yourself. You can't even own pepper
No.
spray, like you said. What a dumb
You
shit
have
is
to
that?
go through a class and get a.
They probably
fucking
won't even let you
certificate.
learn like self-defense, you know, like
Right.
jujitsu. Like, nope, not here. You know,
Yeah.
I
That's
think they
crazy.
What
should
if
be
you're a
able to own
convicted
it
felon,
though.
you're riding around, the cops pull you over, you got one of these burner guns in your car, and it's like, oh wait a minute, no, do you have to go through the bullshit of it?
That's
Just
a
like,
good
no, you
question.
can-
I think
you
they
can
should be
legally
able to
have
own it if they can't, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole felon thing. I mean, like we said earlier, if it's nonviolent,
I think
mean,
if
it really
it's
needs to be looked at.
nonviolent, and even if it's not a felony, as long as it's not domestic violence, I don't think anything else should
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Anything
take you away.
outside of, like you said, a violent felony or some kind of domestic thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you would take somebody's right away to bear arms. I mean,
Yeah.
they still have a
Right.
right to defend themselves. Now, granted, like you
Exactly.
said, if the crime is too heinous and it's some kind of, you went and armed robbed somebody at one point, well, hey, you just gave up your right now for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think it should be as simple as if you put anybody else in any kind of harm,
yeah,
then
No,
you
right.
lose your gun rights.
no,
Period. Done.
no, you're right. But Trump may change that, like you said, man. He's on fire right now, and I mean, it's amazing he's even thinking of shit like that.
Yeah.
'Cause he's on the ball.
I think
I
he
mean,
needs
I
to do
never-
that. He needs to end the May issue bullshit state laws as far as New York and California. When you apply for any kind of firearm permit, it's like, so when we were doing our concealed carry permits, when you still needed them here, right? We're a shall issue state, meaning that as long as you meet the requirements, which is pay the state and take this class, you will get your permit, right?
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, you'll get it. New York is a may issue state, so you have to have a reason to want a firearm permit out there, and
Right.
self-defense is not adequate for.
So in New York, saying you want a firearm for self-defense isn't a good enough reason for
No.
them to give you a. Boy, that place is a.
Nope.
Imagine living.
I guess if
somewhere
you're
like,
a public figure, maybe.
Yes, you have
Yeah,
to
but
have
what-
The criteria, yeah.
Something
so
like
if you're
that.
a public figure, why are you more important than the average citizen?
Right.
You can't
Yeah.
protect yourself as an average citizen, but a Donald
Absolutely.
Trump back when he lived in New York, he could.
Yep.
I mean, how the fuck is his life any more important than me if I'm living there?
Exactly, because there
God,
was
that's a
actually a
crazy way
big
to run
case that
shit.
happened a few years ago for a lady that lived in it was either California or New York, one of these two states, right?
Yeah,
And
both ones,
you know, even if you do get approved for this permit, it's like a 6, 8, 10 month wait to get
Yeah.
your permit, and then you have to go and do the 10-day wait to purchase the firearm, right? Well, she put in for a permit, and her reasoning was that she had an abusive ex. And, she had a restraining order that he was violating, and she needed a firearm. Well, they granted it, but she was on the waiting list. He breaks into her house and he fucking kills her.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
So because of this waiting list, she's sitting there waiting.
Now she's
Yeah.
dead.
Her abusive ex
dead.
breaks into her house. You see, that something like that right there should have changed that law. You know what I
Instantly.
mean?
Yeah.
Something like that should have changed that fucking law, man. Damn.
It's so true. Yeah.
Yep. I think that,
Y'all don't mind me. I was fixing
I
this.
think
It's
the
live. We're live
NFA
on TikTok. Well, I am.
needs to go away.
Yeah.
Anybody watching it on TikTok, I'm recording on a YouTube live right now, so I figured I'd put my ugly mug up here for y'all to see while I'm talking shit with the guys.
They
But
said
anyway.
Cash Patel got booted from being the director of the ATF or some shit.
Yeah, I seen. Was it the ATF? There was
Yeah.
something he got booted. I wonder why. Did you read in the? what was
No,
wrong
I
with
didn't
it?
read into why, because I thought I didn't realize that like
Let's find out.
the FBI director would be the ATF director. Like,
See why? Because I read something like that, but
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just a fucking headline reader. But
I think the ATF's a crock of shit anyway. But
yeah, I think it all
moving
is.
on.
Yeah, I agree
Trying to
with
see.
you
I don't
100%.
see any. I don't know. I did see that. Speaking of his administration, that Pam Bondi, they've been arresting some of the people that were burning up them Teslas, man. And they're talking like major fucking years for some of these people, like
Yeah.
30+ years. And
Yeah.
she has instructed the district attorneys and everybody that basically you to the fullest extent. No deals. She said, don't throw any deals at them.
Wow.
You if it's 35 years max, that's what you're going for. And I'm like, ooh, Lord, did they burn the wrong cars down? That's fucking rough.
Right.
And you heard about Shapiro, huh? The governor's mansion, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They arrested some crazy looking bastard for burning or trying to burn down that mansion.
I haven't seen too much about it, but I heard. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be
I seen a
interested to find
picture
out.
of him, and if you're gonna read a book by its cover, he seemed a little Antifa-ish, but I don't know, maybe he just
Yeah.
Because I remember I was saying that last night that it's probably going to come out to where it was one of them that did it, but
Exactly.
and when I say them, I mean a Democrat, but
Right.
supposedly he hopped the fence and, for some reason decided his good idea was to go try to burn down the governor's mansion while the governor's family's in it. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to sit too well, with law enforcement. So it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so they're going to throw a fucking book at this idiot, And he had from the picture I saw, it looked like a wife or a girlfriend or something, but he had like 3 kids standing in front of him in the picture. So I guess he was a father, and he's another one just like that one that thought he was going to go blow up the government with a drone. Like, what in the hell are you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a functioning adult, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to go burn down the fucking governor's mansion. Like, where do you think this is going to end?
Right.
Like, you're just going to just go home and go to sleep, and then nothing's going to come of it,
Get back on your game, and
Oh, it's so crazy the way people think, man. These politics got everybody nuts.
Yeah.
I just laugh at them all day long. It's like, man, you should not take this shit that serious, man.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
fuck the governor. I don't care who the governor is. I'm not going to hate him enough to want to go to prison for burning his fucking house down.
Right.
But
you know what laws we need to change? And I'm going back to flashbangs with this, all right? Hear me out.
Yeah, you back
right?
in the...
I can't have a fucking flashbang, okay? You can get on the internet right now and order a fucking jar of cyanide, okay? Legally. You could have it in your house. No problem. Cyanide. You can poison the whole fucking city. Kill everybody in the city with what you can order in cyanide on the internet. But I can't own a flashbang for home defense. It's fucking bullshit.
I wonder why.
I don't even understand, like, tannerite. I just, even I know you got to shoot it to ignite it, but it's just even that. It's amazing that they let you buy that stuff.
It really
I think
is.
They should. I mean, I don't see a problem with it, but it's amazing how.
Yeah, so you can buy tannerite, but you can't buy a flashbang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you can launch.
What is their reasoning behind the flashbang? Because it's not lethal, is it?
It's considered a destructive device.
I mean, is it lethal? Like, I guess if you're holding it.
I mean, I think the biggest risk with them is fire risks. You know, if it blows up under a fucking curtain, but
it's catching fire. Huh?
The SWAT team doesn't burn people's houses down.
No, I'm just curious because usually there's some sort of I don't know, man. There's some sort of reason behind it, and I don't mean a good reason. I just mean like there's some money that they're missing out by making it legal or something. I don't know. Just trying to figure out the path to making flashbangs illegal.
We've elected too many fucking commies.
Is that what it is? Oh, that's something Trump needs to fix.
So flashbangs make cyanide illegal, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you use cyanide for?
To kill your fucking husband.
That's what I'm saying. So besides that, what reason?
Right.
What reason would they allow us to just purchase that freely, like they do?
Dude, I really have no clue.
I mean, isn't that what's like? I guess is that rat poison? Is that what's
I would
in?
have to say probably poisons.
It's like poison, like fucking just a little capsule of it.
Yeah.
And you'll damn near fall dead instantly.
Is that the shit they say like tastes or smells like almond?
Like almond,
or
yeah.
Almonds, however people say.
That's what the Germans would do, man, when they were, or any military people, they getting captured.
Yeah. And dead instantly. Like, I don't know if you saw that video. It was, years and years and years ago on like Live Leak or some shit. That dude in the courtroom, that old man.
Yeah.
And he popped that pill, cyanide.
Yeah.
It's that quick. Boom.
That's pretty slick. That's odd one to do.
90 years of hard labor. No.
Yeah.
Cool.
When I just been found guilty of a major crime and I know I'm going away for life. Yeah, if I got a little pill on me, it was amazing. He was able to get that in the courtroom. That was pretty slick because he did just took it, then boom, done.
It's so fast. That's what amazes me of why you can just order
it,
cyanide salts and it's not like like wives poisoning their husbands with antifreeze back in the day where it was like this may work, it may not. Like you drop fucking half a spoon of cyanide in somebody's shit and like you're gonna kill them, and who the fuck ever does their autopsy? Like,
that's true.
It might not even be that much, man. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you will kill them, and it's probably gonna leak into the groundwater and shit and kill somebody else later.
Like
but
fentanyl, fuck.
Dude, I'm telling you. But you can buy it, no problem.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well,
you can also buy uranium. which is nuts too.
Yeah.
What about plutonium? Because I want to go back to the future.
Yeah,
Can't buy no plutonium.
make a little boy. I'm sure you can.
Yeah. Damn it.
I think it's all in small amounts. Like it's almost like microscopic in the vials, but you can
Yeah.
buy it.
I'm just joking. For the FBI that's monitoring this. We're just kidding.
All a joke.
I'm not trying to buy anything that's not legal. No. All I
exactly.
need is beer and bullets, and that's it.
Nope,
Beer and
we're ordering a
bullets, yeah.
55-gallon drum of cyanide, and the government can't tell us fucking shit because it's legal.
The government.
Motherfuckers.
Disgusting. Bad. About as bad as these corporations. Man, I was talking to a older gentleman the other day. He was 62 years old. He had worked for Pepsi for 34 years, and he's 2 years away from retirement, or 3 years or whatever, pushing 3 years. And of course, his position no longer is going to exist. So
How you like that?
at 62 years old, these dirty motherfuckers, over 30 years of your life, you dedicate to
Yep.
these assholes, and they cut your throat that quick. So now he's telling me he's just talked to the people at one of the coffee producers that he may be able to get a job over there now. And I'm thinking, how fucked up is it to have to be job hunting at 62 years old after you worked for a major corporation like Pepsi
Right.
for 30 years? It's not like it's some company that went out of business, so you need to go job hunt. It's
Yeah.
because we've got everything we need out of you, so we're gonna go ahead and get rid of your position.
And he was probably one of the ones too. Most of the time, when they spend that kind of time at a corporation like that, they're making money. You
Yeah,
know
they're
what I'm
making money,
saying?
and
They
you're the
sit
first
back and they
ones
look
that
at,
right.
God, this guy's been dedicated. That's 34 years, but of course, the bean counters in the upper part of that
Yeah.
company is looking at it like,
How do
what,
you
dude,
do
we can
that,
get
though?
two. We can get two of them to do his job.
How do you,
Or
how,
yeah.
but how do
I
you
mean,
do that
look,
and
I think
sleep
it's
at night?
shitty. Believe
Yeah,
me. But
imagine
I had a
being
buddy
that
that worked
person.
for Coke, man.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years, bro. And they just came to him and said, dude, here's what we're gonna do: year severance pay, pension, 401k, blah blah blah, or we're just gonna lay you off. So
Yeah.
he
Like,
had
how
no
do you
choice.
do
But
that?
yeah, but he wanted to work like another 3 or 4 years, But he
Yeah.
just said, well, I got to take this,
Now imagine
So
being the asshole that makes that call.
Right.
That, we're going to
absolutely.
cut Bob, who's been there for 34 years and dedicated, over half of his life.
Yep.
And we're going to go ahead and let him go. It's getting
Right.
a little too costly to keep him around. And then you're the
Some
one who
shit,
pulls the trigger on that.
Yeah.
I
So,
understand, man. That's
with
why I tell
stuff
people
like that, I hear the negative talks and thoughts about like unions and shit, right? But why? Like, I've never been in one, but it seems like it kind of cuts some of that shit out.
Well, I think the problem is a union doesn't stop that. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people say the unions, it's something that's not even really needed anymore because of all the rules and the laws that these workplaces have to follow. Because it's like Brad was saying about his buddy at Coke. There's this guy, I'm talking about this gentleman that worked for Pepsi. They gave him a year's severance pay.
Mhm.
And it's basically like, hey, we're not going to fire you, I guess, but you're going to have to willingly go. Or,
Right.
I guess, or else, however they present it, they just basically give you no option. And I don't know if a union stops that or not. I don't know. Brad may know more about the union shit. I just know I've heard that it's something that's kind of outdated and not needed any longer due to the workplace laws that are around nowadays,
Yeah, and I think some unions, man, it's probably not a bad gig. I'm sure you work 20 years or 30 years, you get a
Yeah.
pension. Very
Yeah.
few corporations are offering pensions anymore, which I think it's not a bad thing if you're going to spend that kind of time there. But, dude, I knew as a young child, man, it was like, when I grew up, my parents would, no, you got to go work for the phone company, or you got to go work, you know what I'm saying, for the power company, and you got to
Yeah.
do 20, 30 years there. It's like, fuck that. That ain't
No,
happening.
it's just hard to
Yeah.
dedicate that much of your
Yeah.
life to somebody else,
Right.
knowing that at any moment you could be
Yep.
cut. I don't know how people, live comfortably, like, without at least striving to do something on their own. Not everybody can. It's not a
No, it's not
judgment,
made
but
for
to
everybody.
at least
But
have the thought of I don't want to work for somebody until I'm
yes.
60 because they could pull the rug out from under me at 62, and it
Dude,
happens all the
more
time.
than you know, dude.
That's
Yeah,
why I always say with this 2-week notice shit, fuck all that. When you're ready to quit, quit.
that's it.
Fuck them, because when they're ready to get rid of you, they get rid of you.
They're gonna get rid of you, dude.
Yeah, and look, and
Absolutely.
it's a case by case thing, because I know if you're a decent boss, a little family business, and you've employed somebody for years, and they decide they want to quit, and you've always been good to them, then it is a respect thing to say, hey, look, I'm going to move on. I'm going to give you 2 weeks. But as far as these big corporations, I say the way to quit is you just don't show up one morning. Fuck them. I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
because that's what they would do to you, basically. Give you a fucking
Yeah.
watch and say, thanks for your service, but we don't need you any longer.
Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have no sympathy for them motherfuckers, man. They're all cutthroat.
Yeah, while the
But anyway.
CEO has golden parachutes and they're making
Yep.
100 million a year, it's
That's
just
true.
it's
I was actually listening to somebody talk about Bucky's working at
Working
Bucky's.
at Bucky's? Yeah, I
Yeah,
see that.
because they advertise, I mean, they pay well,
Yeah.
and he was basically saying, he was like, they pay great. Like, the money is there, and they offer you, advancements, like, into management as long as you're a decent employee, like, really quick. Like, that basically, as you get hired on, that's your position in line to be moved up into management, and it just keeps moving. But their rules are dead strict. Basically, like, phones are no tolerance. One time you're out.
Damn. Like being on your phone at work, you're talking about?
Yeah, like
At
if your
Buc-ee's, they
phone,
don't play that shit.
if they hear it vibrate in your pocket, it's considered
damn.
a strike. You're out.
okay.
I
wouldn't have lasted long, dude.
No, me either. But it's like he was saying, like, their tardy policy is a 3 strike, you're out, and 30 seconds late is late. Whether
they're just too busy for me. I mean, a Buc-ee's don't stop. Like, I don't give a fuck how much you pay me. That's just too busy.
Don't stop.
There's no
man.
downtime, and I appreciate my downtime, so I can't work for a
Dude,
company
that's
like
those
that.
HR bean counters, man. I worked for a major company that had some Navy contracts here in New Orleans. And dude, it was like, you go through a guard check, you find your card amongst, 2,000 employees, you find your card. And dude, if you had to be there at 3 and it was 3:01, it would stamp your time card red. So just
Yeah,
to notify, hey, you were
just to know
late,
you were a minute late.
Yep.
And some of them,
God.
like, I want to say when I worked, I mean, dude, I'm going back in the freaking late 80s, early 90s. But, dude, when you go there, it's like, okay, so you come in at 8:01. Well, guess what, dude? Your time really don't start until 8:15. You wasn't there for 8. You're going to go in for 8:01, but your time doesn't start until 8:15. Now,
Like your pay
maybe the
time, you
laws
talking
have
about?
changed. You know what I'm saying? So
talking
they
about
would
like
start
where you're
calculating your time. You lose
where
15
you
minutes if you're 1
Yeah,
minute
yeah,
or
you
3
lose.
minutes late.
Well,
You
I'd
lose
sit on my
15
fucking
minutes.
ass.
See, that's
Wow.
why I've been where I'm at for so long, because my clock in time is 7, right? 7
Right.
o'clock is my clock in time. I leave my house. I'm probably about 35 minutes away from work. I leave my house at 7:40.
He's supposed to be to work for
Roughly.
7. He don't leave his
Yeah.
house till 7:40 every morning.
I hope your boss, does he tune in?
He knows.
But
Yeah,
you know what? You'd
he
hit on
sees
that
it.
earlier, Shane. Small businesses, man. Look,
Yeah.
I have one, and I've been doing this 30 years, and dude, I am so laxed when it comes on times. Just show up. If you're not coming
Bro.
in, you got to call me and tell me,
Yeah,
because then I
but
got to reschedule. But
Well,
and to me,
there's
it's
yeah,
always been about just get your fucking job done. I don't give a fuck if you
exactly.
show up at 7 or
Absolutely, dude.
9.
Yeah,
Just do your
yeah.
job.
And
You
that's
know?
what we've talked about. He's like, look, if you get shit done the night before and you're not stopping production, I don't give a fuck when
I
you
don't
get here.
care. Yeah.
I don't care.
Exactly.
As
Yeah, if
long
you're
as
not
shit's
holding-
moving.
Yeah, if your job isn't holding up another job, then I don't care when you just get in and do your work. That's how it
Yeah.
should be. I mean,
Yep.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
want to come in
Most
from
of 'em.
10, but today, dude, you got to stay till 6. to
Yeah,
get it
it's
done.
like
I
I
need
see,
everything done on this schedule, So
Yeah.
You know, my wife, she does accounting work, and the firm that she works for, it's not just her place. I've heard others, about how you got to make your time up, and it's like, for what? What do you mean make my time up? Like, because I didn't work 40 hours, but I still got my job done. I didn't, I still
Right.
got what I needed to get done, but I didn't work my 40 hours. So, you need to make up your time. Like, fuck off. And I never understood that concept, man. Because to me, it wouldn't sit well with me. So I'm like, I'm not making shit up. I'm out of here. I'm not working longer now on a Thursday night because I took off Wednesday. How about no? So I wouldn't last long at a real job. That's why I haven't
guess
had
that's
one
why
in
we
20-something years.
self-employed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with the stupidity, the busy work, the dumb shit like that with the making up your time.
Yeah.
And then it's just ignorant. Like you were talking about with Buc-ee's, where the phone policy, if they even hear it vibrating in your pocket, like, fuck off,
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't, I don't know.
Exactly.
I wouldn't do too well in that atmosphere. But
No.
anyway, anything else crazy before we get off of here?
I don't think so, brother.
Well, everything's crazy, but yeah,
Everything
anything
is
interesting.
crazy. Yes.
No. Well, let's do it. Let's wrap it up. We'll make it a short one. We'll be back at it next week, next Tuesday at 8 o'clock.
Happy
We'll
Easter
get
to you
back at
folks
it.
out there.
Oh, it is
that might be
Easter, ain't
tuning
it?
in.
Easter
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Easter
all
week,
right.
man. Yeah.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Fucking
We'll be
Easter.
back at it next week. B.S.ing with the guys. Y'all behave.
Peace.
Later.